Let's talk about the first and only time I ever got jumped. So, yeah. So I was on my way home from school. It was just a normal school day. I think it was the middle of winter. There was a bunch of ice on the ground. And you know me, I like to save money back then. So instead of taking the bus, I decide that I'm gonna walk home. So I'm walking home, and it's a pretty normal walk home. Like, as soon as you get out of the school, like, there's certain corners to try to avoid because that's usually where people who are trying to start trouble usually hang out. So there's special spots to ignore, and back then I was usually pretty good at ignoring those spots or getting around those spots. So I got around them, and I got pretty far away from the school, you know, to where usually it's a safe zone. And I get like almost a quarter a mile away from my house, and I was passing a store, like a corner store, and I noticed a car that turned, it did a U-turn, and then drove into the parking lot of the store. Now, normally I wouldn't think anything of that, but two guys got out of the back seat. They got out of the back of the car, and the driver, he stayed in the car. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So I'm walking this way, basically, and the store is over that way. And instead of the guys going towards the store, they started walking towards me, and I'm on the sidewalk, nowhere near the store. They start walking towards me, which gives off a bad sign automatically. And one of them like walks directly up to me, and he's like, hey, what up, man? And I'm like, you know, what's up? And he was like, the famous line that I'll never forget, that I've learned from since that line happened. I almost got hit by a car a second ago, but anyway. But since I've heard this line, it's become my famous line to look out for when I was younger. He said, hey, you got $1 I can borrow? So I'm like, no, I don't have any money, because in Chicago, a basic setup thing would be like, hey, you got some change I can have, or you got $1 I can borrow, or anything like that, just to get you to go in your pockets. So A, they can hit you, or B, they can see what all you have in your pocket, so they can hit you and then take what you got in your pocket. So, you know, I was like, no, I don't have nothing. I'm on my way home and I don't have any money. It's why I'm walking. And he's like, oh, so you ain't got $1? I was like, no. He's like, you sure you ain't got $1? I was like, yeah, I don't have $1. And his friend the whole time was just standing there, like, looking. And I'm like, okay, because he was kind of blocking my way from the sidewalk while the other guys on the side of me asking me for $1. So I pretty much know it's about to go down at that moment. And the one guy who asked me for the $1, he was like, oh, okay. And then he punched me right in the side of my face. So I'm like, okay, this guy just punched me, whatever. Like, it didn't really hurt, because, you know, I don't know, but I guess he had a weak punch or whatever, but he punched me. And then him and his friend, automatically from the punch, they started like moving around all weird and stuff. Like, they wanted to initiate the fight, but they didn't actually want to, like, they didn't think I would fight back. So once I posted up like I was about to start fighting, because see, me, even from a younger age, I've been on a quest to like learn how to fight and learn how to defend myself. So as soon as this happened and I got punched in the face, automatically I turned into a stance like, okay, I'm ready, you're ready, let's do this. And there's ice on the ground and stuff because it's the middle of the winter. And so I'm standing in a spot where it's a circle of ice, but I'm like in the middle of that circle of ice. So they're on the ground, you know, so they be slipping and sliding. And they're bobbing and weaving, like, what's he doing? What's he gonna do? So then one of them, the one who didn't hit me, he started to come at me. So, you know, I swung on him and he moved out the way. And he was like, hey man, I'm not even the one who hit you. Calm down. And I'm like, what do you mean calm down? It's two of y'all and one of you just punched me in the face. So they started circling again, and then the one who punched me in the face, he got really close to me. So I grabbed him and I had him in the chokehold, and it was kind of like a hostage situation because I had him and his friends like, man, let him go, let him go. And every time his friend got closer to me, I would choke his friend more. So then I pulled his friend into the parking lot because there was another store away from the other, because there was like 3 stores in that parking lot. So I pulled him closer to one of the stores because I was gonna push him off of me and run in the store. And as soon as I got up to the store door, it had a sign on the door like, we're out for lunch. I'm like, seriously? The only time I've seen this store close is the time I'm trying to get in there to avoid some people. Now mind you, this whole time I don't know who's in that car, because I don't know if there's even more people in that car or just one dude who's ever driving it. But that went on for about like, I'd say about 2 minutes of me just choking the one dude and his friend like, okay man, let him go, let him go. And I guess the guy in the car, he got tired of waiting or whatever, because he drove up like on the side of them. And the one friend, he was like, okay, let him go, we're leaving. And he got in the car, so I let him go and I pushed him, and then he went and got in the car and the car drove off. And I'm like, seriously? That was like the dumbest thing to ever happen. So the only punches that took place was the one guy who sucker punched me in the side of the face, and then the rest of the fight was just me choking a guy and his friend trying to get me to let him go. So yeah, and then I never saw those guys again. I don't know where they drove off to or nothing. They just drove off and went the other way and didn't even turn around. So I'm like, if there was another guy in that car, could have been 3-on-1, 4-on-1 even. So I don't know what they were doing. I mean, it could have been they were young gang members and that's how you get initiated, because that is one way to get initiated, is they jump you in. Like sometimes they'll beat you up or they'll have you go jump a random person in the street. But I think they failed, so I don't think they got in. Yeah, so that was the one time I almost got jumped, and that was the only time I got jumped. So yeah, that's that story. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like and subscribe. I got plenty more stories. I think I'm gonna do all these stories on my way home from work because it gives me something to do while I'm walking home, because usually when I get home I'm too tired to record. So I'm just gonna start recording all my story times on my walks home from work. So expect a story time every Sunday. You might even get a bonus one in the middle of the week. I'm not sure, but you're definitely gonna get one every Sunday. So look out for those. Like and subscribe and comment, please comment, and I'll catch you all on the flip side, because I'm out.